And so let's talk about the living trust as a reason for avoiding probate. A second reason for doing the living trust is that it's good if you live too long. And what I normally talk about here with people is if you reach a time in your life when you're not capable of taking care of your assets or paying your bills, you've already named somebody to step in to be in charge of your estate, to pay your bills and to take care of you for the balance of your lifetime. You can do that with a power of attorney, but a power of attorney ceases when you die. A living trust allows that person to continue on and distribute everything after you're gone. So it's a lot better than just a simple power of attorney. And I want us to talk about powers of attorney later, but right now let's continue on the trust. I personally believe that everyone that has a home or $50,000 or more in assets should consider a living trust. It's good, like I said, if you live too long, it's good when you die. And by if you live too long, if you become incompetent, when you die, all of us are going to die someday. And when you die, you've already made your plans and you have the person in charge who can distribute everything, pay your last expenses, and without having to go through the probate process. And the probate process basically costs people from 3 to 7% of what goes through probate. So if you can avoid the probate, you'll save that 3 to 7% of your estate. Let me start with talking a little bit about a living trust first. The living trust is made during your lifetime, as opposed to a testamentary trust that's part of your will. A living trust is something that you do during your lifetime, and you are the trustee, you are the settlor, you are the primary beneficiary. A revocable living trust is something that you can change or revoke or amend at any time. And I always encourage people to start out with a revocable living trust. But let's just say that you're a couple. It's a second marriage for you. Each of you have children by a previous relationship, and you want to make sure that whichever one of you dies first, that the survivor will not change. I had a lady once come in and she wanted to change her will after her husband died, and they had children from different relationships. And she said his children did not pay proper respects at his funeral. And she had the ability to change, and so she changed her will to just leave everything to her children. With a irrevocable trust, you make it so that after one of you dies, the survivor can't change it. And that's very beneficial from the standpoint of keeping everything going to the beneficiaries that together you and your spouse chose to have. The parties in a trust are primarily the settlors, or settlor if it's a single person, and that's the person that's setting up the trust. You have the trustee, and that's the person who is managing the assets. Many times, almost always, the settlor and the trustee are one and the same. You have a successor trustee, and the successor trustee is a person who will take over after your death or your incompetency or your resignation. And people often ask, well, why would I resign? And I had a client who came in and he said, Lane, there are mornings that I'm talking to the trees. He realized that he had early stages of Alzheimer's, so he resigned as trustee. And when he did that, the successor trustee stepped up and took over. Then there is the primary beneficiary. The primary beneficiary is the person who is for their benefit primarily, just like it says. After the death of the primary beneficiary, you have secondary beneficiaries and remaindermen. Secondary beneficiaries likewise can be children, can be charities, can be whomever you choose. And again, that's so important. It's your choice, not the state's choice. I encourage my people to put everything they own into the trust except for their retirement accounts. So if they have a home, real estate, cars, bank accounts, savings accounts, CDs, stocks, bonds, all of that goes into the trust. The only thing that you do not put into the trust is your retirement plan or an IRA. And you have a beneficiary, named beneficiary for your IRA, your individual retirement account. And so that's taken care of outside the trust, and you do not put that into the trust. Normally the trustee is the person who's setting up the trust. The successor trustee can be a child or a friend or a bank, and it's totally up to you. And one time I asked a person, or one time I was giving this presentation, and a person asked me, what if you don't trust the trustee? And I thought to myself, well, you don't need a trust, because the underlying element here is trust. If you think that your kids will have problems, then name a bank as a successor trustee, one of the local banks here in town, as a successor trustee. And the answer, if you have a trust, you do need a will. And the reason you have a will is a safety net. It catches anything that's not in the trust and pours it into the trust. I had a client who for 20+ years, he and his wife bought and sold everything as trustees of their trust. His wife passed away, he decided to downsize, he bought a little smaller house, but rather than buying it in his name as trustee of his trust, he bought it in his name individually. When he died, then we had to use his will to catch that trust asset, that non-trust asset, and probate it, put it into the trust, and then it was distributed to his children. If you have any other questions, please feel free to call me. My telephone number is 870-425-3464. We have a website, it's www.strotherfirm.com. That's STROTHERFIRM.com.